All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Shai, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shai. All right, and what I want to get into today, is great edification, all right, and great confusion, okay, because we're in the time now, where the Lord is doing both, okay, and those, all right, that are not meant to get it, they're only becoming more confused, and that's why the Lord is allowing, this gumbo of doctrine, to go forth, okay, these doctrines of confusion, okay, to go forth, because for the non-elect, they're being more confused as we're going into the time of judgment, okay, which is going to leave them vulnerable for judgment, okay, and then you have the elect, all right, the Lord is allowing, edification, more edification to go forth, all right, to anchor us down, Lord will we over that number, okay, for the time of temptation, the hour of temptation, we're going to be tried, where we're going to, be tested to see whether we believe, if we sincerely believe, so the Lord is setting the stage, for great judgment, by allowing, Israelites to be confused all over the place, okay, and then he's setting the stage for mercy by allowing, the remnant, okay, to be more and more edified, okay, for faith boosters, because as you have all, this madness being taught, there's heavy edification coming out. The Lord don't, he doesn't do anything random. These guys, say what they say, okay, the madness that they teaching now, all right, and Captain Tazariak, his madness, okay, and what's happening, the Lord is having his men to respond to certain points, okay, not getting caught up in the soap opera, but dealing strictly with the edification of the doctrine, okay, the edification of the scriptures. There's a lot of edification going forth, man. There's a lot of, things that we understood, but we understand it in a whole nother way. The way that the Lord has, his men responding to these things, man, this heavy edification going out, and whenever false doctrine arise, every time the Lord sends a wave of edification through, okay, to secure the elect, to fortify the elect with edification, okay? So it's either one or the other when it comes to, the truth, okay? Either you're going to be edified, okay, or you're going to be confused. And that's the way the Lord has it set up. That's the duality of this thing, okay? And the scriptures go into that duality. So let's get into it. This is the book of Luke chapter 2 and verse 34. It says, and Simeon blessed them. This is when Yahweh was brought to the temple, for his purification by Joseph and Mary. All right, and you had this elder, all right, Simeon, which the Spirit let him know he wasn't going to die until he seen Yahweh, until he seen the Savior. All right, so when he seen him, it was a spirit on him, to speak on particular things. So you go to Luke 2 and 34, and Simeon blessed him and said unto Mary his mother, behold, this child is set, all right, for the fall and rising again of many in Israel, and for a sign which shall be spoken against. Okay, so this child, which is Yahweh Shai, was set. Okay, you go into his word set. Let's go into a couple words. It said he was set. All right, and you go into the word in the Greek.
Strong's G 2749. Kaimai.
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 All right, it said metaphorically, getting to the point. It says to be by the Most High's intent, set, i.e., destined or appointed. So Yahweh Shai, he was destined to come on the scene, All right, during the time of the Romans, during the time the priesthood was corrupt. Okay, during the time our people was in captivity. You see, and it would be for the rise and fall. Because you had, the leadership, all right, the corrupt leadership. It was their fall. Okay, they was condemned by Yahweh. Okay, but then you had the remnant. Okay, of their time follow Yahweh. It was for their rise. You see, and in this time the same thing has happened again. The way the Lord time, the preaching of His word to go forth. It will be for the rise and fall of many in Israel. Okay, many will fall at the teaching of Yahweh. This will be a stumbling block to them. Okay, and many will rise. Many would, all right, be lifted up. Okay, by the teaching of Yahweh. And when you lift up, because when you build, when you edify, you build up. Okay, to edify something, to edify, so you will build up. Okay, so you have a remnant that's being built up on Yahweh, and you have everyone else that's stumbling at Yahweh. Okay, and right now, what you see, like I say, this gumbo of doctrines that's out there. Okay, you have a lot of Israelites that's falling. Okay, and then on the flip side, he has his sincere men doubling down in edification, and the elect is constantly being built up even more. Okay, so you have great edification and you have great confusion. Okay, and this is how the Lord wanted it to be. That's why when you go into the book of Romans, the 11th chapter, it's the book of Romans 11 and 7. We get these things, but now, like I say, things that we thought, we had under our belt, we was good on. Now the Lord had us revisit these things and really, go into it, and it brought out a new understanding. Which the more we understand, the more we believe. Okay, because our faith is based on what we understand. Okay, so the more that we understand, the more we believe. Okay, so you go to Romans 11 and 7. It said, "What then? Israel have not attained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it, and the rest were blinded." Okay, the elect. Okay, the elect have attained the truth, and are being built up in that truth. Everyone else was blinded. Okay, and if you're following these men, especially you following in Genesis, okay, they went back to Christianity after they warred with Christianity in the spirit for years. Okay, just to transition to a Christian doctrine. Okay, in the fourth quarter. You see, if you're following something like that, you're blinded. Okay, you don't see what's really going on. Okay, Captain Tazariak, his latest attempt to break down the MOTB. If you're following that, you're blinded. The rest were blinded. Okay, and following these men, you're more confused today than you were yesterday. You're more confused, all right, this month than you were last month. On the flip side, the elect, okay, understands with more clarity today than they did yesterday. Okay, they've been built up. Okay, each and every day. You see, understanding is increasing, but confusion is increasing as well. Okay, and throughout Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, that we're on the side of edification, man, and may we continue to grow and be edified in righteousness, man. Okay, so you go here real quick, and it says the rest, were blinded, man. That's heavy, to be blinded from this truth, to have all this edification go out, and the only conclusion you can come up with is the MOTB is an embargo, and all nations can be saved. You know, that's hey, that's heavy, man. That's not no light thing. The Lord, has these people blinded in the midst of all this edification, man. You know, So let's go to the word blinded in the Greek.
Strong's G 4456. Porao. Porao.
Parao. All right, it says to metaphorically to make the heart dull of the mind. All right, to make you dull. You're not sharp. You're not on point. Okay, you can be told anything, and you like, oh, okay, simple. Okay, and it says to grow hard. All right, callous, become dull, lose the power of understanding. There's a lot of Israelites that don't have the power of understanding. Okay, they just here. Okay, they're still dead. They're still spiritually dead, just with the head wrap and fringes on, and the skirt. Okay, and the boots and armbands. Okay, they're just dressed up corpse. And see, they're matching. They're just matching corpse. You see. So the Lord has taken away the power of understanding. Okay, from a lot of Israel, man. Okay, and the only thing that they can do is become more and more confused. Okay, you get this word callous. Okay, so you go into callous, just a quick Google search. All right, it says uh, showing or having an insensitive and cruel disregard for others. It says hard-hearted, all right, cold-hearted, okay, um, indifferent, okay, indifferent. You see, and the Lord has a lot of Israelites that's indifferent to the truth. Not only because a lot of Israelites cleave to false doctrine because they hate the true doctrine. That's why it's so easy for them to cleave to a false doctrine because they really despise the true doctrine. There's a hatred for the true doctrine because false doctrines are built up on opposition to true doctrine. You know, it just teach whatever. All right, just teach the opposite of what the truth is. Okay, they say only Israelites can make it. We're gonna say everybody can make it. They say the name Yahweh Shai, we're gonna say the name Christ. We're gonna push Christ. Okay, they they push the MOTB is a RFID microchip. We're gonna say it's everything but that. Okay, so forth and so on. So false doctrine is built up on being anti-truth. Like false doctrine, okay, its foundation is anti-truth. Okay, so if you are so easily taken by a false doctrine, okay, that's because you despise the truth. Okay, you have a disdain for true doctrine. Okay, and it's just being shown. The line is being drawn. All right. Now let's read on Romans 8, Romans 11, verse 7 again. Reading down, it says, "What then? Israel have not attained that which he seeketh for, but the election have attained it. Okay, and the rest were blinded, according as it were written, the Most High have given them a spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear until this day, man." So the Lord has put, all right, Israel into a slumber. The non-elect, the undesirables, he put them in a state, okay, of slumber. You see? And you go into the word slumber.
Strong's G 2659. Catonyxis. Catonyxis.
Katanesis. All right. And you jump down to the last definition. It says, hence a spirit of stupor, okay, which renders their souls torpid, so insensible that they are not affected at all by the offer made them of salvation through the Messiah. Okay, and that's why no matter how many videos of edification come up, if you're in the slumber, all right, you can't even receive it. You're insensitive, okay, that you're not even affected by all the edification that's going out. You're in the slumber. You're in the spirit of stupor. Okay, you'll hear an hour video of nothing but edification and points and facts and information coming out. Okay, and you still ask a dumbass question. Okay, a question that was explained in the video. Okay, or you'll look at that hour video and get something out of it that has nothing to do with edification. Okay, all the edification go forth, and the nigga just say, "I see why the community don't like y'all." All right, nigga. Okay, nigga. God damn. You see? So going back into the definition, it says, hence a spirit of stupor, which renders their soul torpid. Look at that word torpid. See what that means. Should get a lot of words. All right. It says torpid. It says mentally or physically inactive, lethargic. Okay, slow. Okay, lifeless, dull. Okay, stagnant. Okay, and this describes the other side, man. This perfectly describes the other side. Completely stagnant, man. No growth, no spiritual understanding. You know, not don't know what they're part of. Still westernized. Still think from a Western perspective when it comes to the scriptures, man. Stagnant. All right. Since the day that they was told they was Israelite, been stagnant since then. No growth. Okay. No increase in understanding. No understanding what they're a part of. Not understanding prophecy. What the Lord is doing in real time. What's happening. Okay, you're in the stupor, you're in the slumber, lethargic. Okay, you see, lifeless, slow moving, comatose. You're in a coma. Okay, comatosis, man. So the Most High has put, okay, the other side into a slumber, and the more false doctrine come out, the more they're putting in the slumber, the more they're being put into a slumber, in a deeper coma. You know, the Lord is just shoveling dirt on top of them with these false doctrines. They're shoveling more dirt on top of them, man. Okay, with the Israelite attire on, the armbands, like I said, the Jodeci boots with the, you see, the 3 foot high head wraps. Okay, in the grave, and the Lord just shoveling dirt on them through these false prophets, man. Okay, verse 9, it says, and David said, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Okay, so a table, when you go into the word table, just go into to some words.
Strong's G 5132. Trapeza.
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 All right, a table. It says a table, okay, in the temple at Jerusalem, all right, on which the constant created loaves were placed. Okay, and those loaves represented Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh Shai was the volume of the book. Okay, so this book is a snare, is a trap. If you ain't right, and when you open this book, if you're not of the elect, when you open this book, you can only become more confused than before you even open the book. Okay, you go read you 2-3 chapters, and now you're just 2 or 3 chapters of more confusion. You just added more confusion to yourself. Okay, when you're trying to read the Bible just to have a opposing, okay, understanding. Okay, you're reading it with, all right, with wicked motives. When you open it and read it, you're just getting more confused. Because as you're teaching these things, you might not believe these things when you first start as a false prophet, because a lot of these guys have just been paid off. But as you research to try to prove your false doctrine, you got to get into this thing. So now you're going into the scriptures to prove a false doctrine, and you're just coming out more confused, and then you're trying to convince everybody. Now you're convincing yourself to where you're just more confused in a lie. Okay, so what was supposed to be for their benefit, because this book benefits the elect. This is our everything, man. Living by this book, this is our manual to life. We live by this, man. Okay, this is our everything. You see, when we open this book, man, hey, we can. This book changed the spirit. It changed our trajectory. It changed our outlook. We get a heightened outlook. We read this book, we study, we go into these things. Hey, it's enhancing us, man. Okay, but if you're not of the elect, you're gonna read it and be confused. It's gonna be a snare. It's gonna be a trap unto you. You're gonna be drawn to keep coming back and getting more confused, and then going out and spreading that confusion to the masses of Israel that's meant to be confused. Okay? It says, and David said, let their table be made a snare and a trap and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened that they may not see, and bow down their back always, man. Okay? So it was always meant for this same generation to come back. Okay? And their lot is to be confused. Just like on the flip side, their elect, their lot is to be edified and built up by the word, to be rooted in truth, to be rooted in faith, man. Okay? On the flip side, there's the non-elect that's meant to be confused unto their destruction. Okay? So that's the point. Just wanted to get into that. Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders, GMS, who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessed salutations to the hopeful and shalom.